Joe Budden says that Drake's new album is trash. Drake fires back, says that Joe Budden is a failed rapper and a hater. We're here to talk about it today. Let's talk about it.
Arkatech Beatz.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's the Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast. We are your hosts, Platinum Producers, Arkatech Beatz. I am Juggernaut.
I am Mike Trauma D.
And, we made the Platinum Production Group crew, Arkatech Beatz. If it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. Every week we get together. We like to just talk about music business stuff and music industry stuff. So if it's your first time here, make sure you like, commenting, and subscribing. But listen.
The trash?
They said that right? Listen, we have our own take on this, and look, and I want to set it off by saying, listen, Drake will probably go down as being one of the greatest, if not the greatest artist of our generation.
Absolutely.
I want to say that, and I guess what happens with it in a kind of a superhero sense, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So his bar is really high, and I think people are trying to hold him to that bar. And I think Joe Budden is trying to hold him to that bar and saying who you are, your talent level, your resources, the production you have access to, the things that you can afford to do on your projects.
He could do it.
Right. People are just expecting more. And I think that's where Joe Budden's frustration is coming from. It's like, hey, why are we getting this at this point in your career, at your age? And I think a lot of artists should really pay attention to this, because you should really kind of see, the way that things can be on social media. And, give me your take on it, because, I got a lot to say on this thing, man, but it's going to be a crazy type of situation.
I think, look, we said this in a couple of podcasts ago about being relevant. And we all know the trick to being relevant is to make sure you're in tune with the next generations, the one that's coming up.
Real talk.
Keep jumping on their projects, they jumping on your project, so that, you guys can learn from each other, So I get it. I get the reason, I get the idea, I get the whole thing, but you also have to be careful. It could be a catch-22. If you're an older MC or a mature MC, and we're expecting a certain level of quality of music from you, if you're surrounding yourself with those who have not reached your status, and it's not creating the content, the quality of music that, you're known for, you can be dragged down into creating subpar music. And I think that is what's happening here. I think Drake is capable of creating the best music, because he has, and I think at this moment he has surrounded himself with, let's really think about it. Like, this year we've got trash music the entire year. Like there's nothing to inspire you. How do you get inspired if you look to your left and you look to your right and there's nothing good or nothing to your level? So, and then you go and surround yourself with those individuals. Like, how are you gonna sharpen your steel? How are you gonna get better? How are you gonna feel inspired to even make the hardest or the craziest or the most conceptual records? So it's challenging, and that's what's happening.
So you're saying that because hip hop has been trashed this year, that your man is basically like, he's putting out a project for the sake of putting out a project, but he's not really inspired to compete or to really do anything out of the box or even remotely, really fresh.
Who would he compete with, if you think about it?
Right, because he's competing with himself. So, and in that sense, you would say, yeah, he's competing with himself. How does he compete with himself? So it's kind of like there's nothing really to compare it to. But I agree with you when you say that, if you're surrounded by too much of the trend of what's going on, because the trend really, a lot of the trends right now really isn't dope. It's just trendy. It's not like it's like really good music that's really popping right now. That's not the situation. Right now you have a lot of good personalities or a lot of, personas that seem to be popular, but not really
A lot of
music.
A lot of shock value.
Yeah. The music is all mid. The music has been mid for quite some time now. And I get it. Like you said, this is the tactic of a Jay-Z, so forth, where they attach themselves to somebody that's up and coming and just kind of keep your relevancy in that situation. But what do you think of Joe Budden's critique overall? Do you feel that he was right? Do you feel that he was out of pocket? Do you feel like, and then we'll get into Drake's response, because, I would like to clip up some of what these guys said, but, for the sake of copyright, I try to stay away from it.
I think, Budden's, I think he expects more from Drake. I think he just expects more, and when you don't get, what you expect, you're naturally disappointed. I thought I was going to get more, from the title alone. When he said, for my dogs, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to come with something for the fellas. It's going to be hard. He's going to be having some bars. He's going to get at some of the people we may have had issues with, or whatever the case may be. That's what I thought, and then even the cover looked a little like, okay, this looks a little Demon Time, the dog, or, with the eyes, which I believe his son drew, I believe.
Yes, his son's art.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, it's for the dogs, all right. So I'm thinking it's gonna be some hard and some content that's gonna be insightful, from a fella's point of view, from his experience, more on a mature level of him kind of almost looking down at the industry and spitting his truth, and that's not what we're getting, from my point of view. I get a lot of just keeping up with the trends and just, being down with the people who's, popping per se. I didn't, in my opinion, I didn't hear nothing that was, oh my God, but it's just my opinion.
Gosh. It is a funny thing to me. I feel like when I listen to it, I'm just like, okay, this is not what I expected. But I've kind of gotten, I haven't really enjoyed, an entire album from him in a minute. I can't even front on that. I think that it always seems to fall a little bit flat to me because of the simple fact that, again, we come from those eras where your albums were always let me reverse. We come from that era where the albums were always based on your resources. The people who had access to the best resources had the best albums. Point blank, period. And when we look at an artist of his caliber, we keep saying there's no reason for these albums to be mid or lackluster at all. You have plenty of money. You have plenty of talent. You're surrounded by the greatest songwriters, the best songwriters. You have no problem working with songwriters on songs and collaborating. You're not one of those artists who isolate themselves and have to come up with everything on their own. You clearly don't do that. You collaborate, you do it, you make all types of features, you do all types of things. So in my mind, you're supposed to have the best music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because
you don't debate. There should be no debate about it.
Yeah. Because you're not working by yourself, right, in isolation, and you can afford the best team. And, in my opinion, so if that's the case, your music should be more than outstanding, right? But time and time again, it just seems to keep being mid. And I'm just like, you know, and, you know, he gets away with a lot of it because, again, he's who he is. So it gets to the point where I think sometimes artists kind of start to believe their own hype, right? And then once they believe their own hype, they feel like they don't have to work as hard. And I think we may have seen that, you know, in the early time, but maybe like a Wu-Tang, you know, where the first level of stuff was phenomenal, and then all of a sudden it just starts to decline, and we're like, well, why is it declining so fast? It's because, you know, the artist starts to feel they can do anything they want. And that's not, you know, that works for a little bit, but it doesn't work all the time. You know, but I want to get to the response from him, from what Drake was saying. Drake was basically telling Joe Budden that you have failed at music. You left it behind to do what you're doing in this clip because this is actually what pays your bills. And he says something here. He says, for any artists watching this, just remember that you are watching a failure. Give his opinion on his idea of a recipe for success. Thoughts?
Saying a recipe for,
like, who are you who have never done what I'm doing? How do you have the right to say anything?
I don't think this is a question about success. I think Drake is talking about success, but I don't think this is about the conversation is about success. I think the conversation is about just putting out for fans. For fans, one, you know, is there a criteria for being a fan? You know, your fans want a certain level of music from you. And if you don't deliver that, they're going to respond a certain way. So if Joe Budden, if he had a podcast or not, he's a fan, you know, and I don't mean fan in a negative tone. I mean fan of, listen, we listen to your music, we enjoy your music, and we expect a certain caliber of music anytime you drop. And if you don't drop it, then we're going to voice our opinions as fans. Now, you could take that or you don't have to take it. And I think every person who buys an album or listens to music will always have something to say about, you know, an artist, especially if they're fans of their music. So I just think that he just disappointed in what he got as a fan. That's it.
I want to disagree. And I would say that he is not a fan because of his platform. His platform is too large now to have an opinion and quote unquote just be a fan. I think his public feud with Drake has already, before he stopped rapping, has a personal vendetta. So I feel that in that type of situation is that, you know, his platform is too large for him to have such an opinion, right? And then
he can't, because he has a platform, he cannot give his opinion.
Well, your opinion could sway public opinion. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have a large platform. We have a platform where people listen to. People may start to listen, you know, critically, you know, depending on what we may present to the audience. The question is, are we presenting it in an unbiased fashion? That's the question, right? And I don't know if it's 100% unbiased, right? Because again, you know, this is what Drake is trying to say, is that he's trying to give his opinion for something that he really doesn't, he can't give his opinion on how to be as successful as a Drake. Now, he could say that, and I guess we could say the same thing, because we could say we don't like this album, you know, but we don't have a real skin in the game. I'm not anti-Drake. You know what I'm saying? I've never made a diss record, you know, with X amount of bars against Drake. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it kind of makes his, it makes his commentary kind of not necessarily as credible as it could be for somebody who doesn't have any skin in the game and just says, hey, I just critique music and I just think that this music just ain't it. So I think that's why your boy came for him like that, because he knows that he has a personal situation. He was poking the bear a long time ago with Drake, never really responded to him before he retired, if you remember that.
Right, but if the record was at a certain caliber, you don't think Budden would have given it its props for what it is?
No. I don't think anything Drake does, he's gonna give him any props for it.
No, what I mean is if Drake album was undeniably across the board, fire, flames, everything that we all hoped and was wishing for, from the craziest beats to the hit records to the concepts to everything, all across the board, checked all the boxes. Do you think Budden would have said this record is fire, this album's hot? You don't think he would have given us props and said so?
No, I think he would have still kind of given it a lackluster review, and then the rest of his panel would have had to challenge him on it. I think that's just where it is. It's like, I just think that's just where it is. You know what I'm saying? I just think that's where it is. And there's something that he said here in this reply that, you know, he says here, I never want anybody in this generation to think that everybody is entitled to their opinion is a real thing. This man is projecting his own self-hate, right? And the fact that I did and continue to do everything he wanted to do for himself. And I feel like that is real. That's really real situation, you know, like there are so many platforms that are used to tear down artists, you know, and this is part of the reason why I wanted to talk about it on the platform. It's like, yeah, it's outside of talking about, like, you know, the album and then a little bit of the controversy, so forth and so on. But it's also that situation that we keep talking about in Black media. Like, are we too critical of our own superheroes, right? Because I don't know if other media outlets do that. Or other media outlets that have other demographics, are they in the business of tearing down their superheroes? Because I don't think that happens, you know, too often. I don't think you see those negative articles about, you know, growing up back in the day about Kiss or, you know, or Rolling Stones or whoever else, you know, like you don't see those type of situations. So I'm just wondering if, you know, because he has the public feud, I'm wondering if it had been a situation would have been like, hey, I don't like the album. It's not really for me, and kind of leave it where that was, versus, you know, he can give his reasons for why, and I guess Drake can give his reasons for why it's not, because it's still going to come in number one. Still going to do the numbers.
So at what point, so where do you know, if you have a platform where you give your opinion of things going on in music, you know, whether things are outlined in fact or it's just your take, you're not allowed to you know, to speak,
voice your opinion.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that without receiving some sort of backlash.
You know, I've said that. You know, I said that initially for a long time. I've always felt that some people weren't qualified to give their opinion. And I felt that it's a free for all.
Yeah.
I feel that some people should be qualified.
Yeah.
To give their opinion. You know, some folks will say, well, no, that's not how social media works, because it isn't, you know. But this is why we have what we currently have. This is why the standards are gone. Yeah. This is why the music standards are totally shit. It's because we've given everybody with an unqualified opinion a voice.
Yeah.
You know, like, everybody got a voice. Everybody got a skin in the game. Like, everybody got something to say about something that they have no real knowledge of, right? Now, can I critique? Can Joe Budden critique the Drake album as being a former artist signed to a major label? To a degree, he can critique it, but he's never achieved the success that he's had, right? So you may not even understand what he's going to do from that situation. Some people would say to us, like, okay, well, you know, you've worked on which albums? Well, we've worked on certain albums, certain things, and we've done certain things with certain artists. You know, are we qualified to speak on what's happening for it right now? Some people would say no, right? They would say, oh, no, you're talking about what it used to be, right? Not what it currently is. And you're not looking at the new model for success. You know, there's some truth to that, and there's some, you know, and some we may disagree. We may feel that experience would give him a better situation. Right. But he's so big that he doesn't fail at this situation. You know, so that's really what the situation is at this point.
That's an interesting take on it. You know, I agree. I agree with, you know, there's a lot of people who, you know, get on social media or open up their own platforms. You know, they just talk. And Doug, we've been complaining about that for a long time. That people are out here giving advice, you know, telling you what to do and do this and do that. And they don't have any credentials to their names. They don't have anything that, any proof. Like, who are you to be saying this or saying that? You know, but someone like Joe Budden, who's an MC, he could spit. He comes from that battle rap, and he can do all of that. He can make records. You know, signed to Def Jam at one point, signed to Shady, aftermath of the Eminem. I mean, I think those are some pretty hard credentials to have, you know. And I think someone like him, you know, earns himself a spot that he can speak on music, he can speak on you know, lyric, MCing, hip hop, you know. And if he hears an album, he's expecting an album to deliver a certain bars or certain, you know, content, and he doesn't get that. Yeah, I think he's well in his place to be able to say something. Now, the history he has, you know, because the history he has with Drake, it's always going to be looked at a side eye. Like, is this hate? Is this so forth? However, you got to think, is what he's saying, is it true? You know, and a lot of times people like to shoot down the messenger or say, oh, you can't say this and you can't say that. But hold on, let's stop for a second. Is what he's saying, is it true? Never mind of the bias and all of those things. Is it true? And that's what we gotta go on. Is it true?
Listen, I don't 100% disagree with him, bro. I do believe that the music should be better. It's great. You know, again, I'll keep going back to it. Like, you know, good albums were determined by your resources, right? No slight to, you know, certain situations, but there's going to be a difference in production if we're talking about going from, say, you know, let's say we're saying DITC to going to Trackmasters. It's different. You know what I'm saying? Or if you're going from Trackmasters to Dr. Dre. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are different levels to the situation and who you're going to pay or whatever. Not knocking these guys, just putting it in kind of a tier type of system, right? If you can afford the top guys to produce your album, you pay for it, right? Now, granted, you might not want to do that because of, you know, you're trying to maintain costs and keep costs low and kind of get more ROI. I get all of that. In-house production business, I get it. Everything right now is about dollars and cents. But when you're an artist of that caliber, there are expectations. That's all I can say. And I think he didn't meet Joe Budden's expectations. He didn't meet my expectations for sure. I can tell you that. But the only reason why Joe Budden's getting the hate is because Joe Budden's platform is so large and it can sway public opinion.
If your record is hot, you don't got to worry about it being swayed. If it stands on its own, if it's hot, then you got nothing to worry about.
But remember what we're dealing with now. We're dealing with influence marketing. This is what we're dealing with now. Remember what's happening now. We're not dealing with people who can really formulate their own ideas. We're not dealing with people who can formulate their own opinions. So what we're dealing with now is we're dealing with the generation of influencer marketing, right? So if we can continue to keep the sheep going to, you know, to the den of wolves to eat, then that's what they're gonna keep doing. They're gonna keep making the sheep go and keep getting themselves, you know, devoured, because this is what we're dealing with now. We're not dealing with people who can listen to stuff and make a critical assessment of for themselves. That's not what's happening. People have to go with what the mass goes with. So you who understands the psychology of influencer marketing cannot afford for a large influencer to go against the grain. Can't do that. Somebody got to check them and say, hey, bro, you can't do that.
Not his fault, though.
Listen.
Put out better music.
No, it's good music according to me. According to me, the music is good. And I'm the lead influence marketer. I'm the one that designs the trends. I'm telling you it's hot. Right? I'm telling you it's hot. How dare you mess up my hypnotism? I'm telling you it's hot. I'm telling you that this is the best shit out right now. And nobody with a objective opinion should be able to say that and sway, my hypnotism and let people start to believe that it's anything but what I say it is.
Problem, and this is where we at right now. Like,
say it.
Like, come on, like, nah. Like, if you're joining it, it ain't it, man. Come back again and make it, That's what hip hop is, man. That's what moving this thing forward is. Like, it's okay, you catch a couple strays. It happens. It happens all the time in hip hop. Not all the goats got great albums.
Listen,
I'm saying, like, it happens.
Information,
you re-up, you come back next year and you come back stronger. Like, more.
Listen, you have always been. I want to tell people a story about the time we was in with a major artist, and the major artist got an offer to do a single for a major movie. And they came with the track, and they were offering this artist, like damn near $100,000 to do the damn song, right? If you remember this thing, the artist did the record, and all the yes men in the studio was like, yeah, that's it. And I just remember you standing up from the point, you say, yo, this is trash, bro. You can't do this to your brand, putting this joint out. And it still came out, but he went nowhere. This is a major artist, and he was trash. It was trash. And you said it. You said, hey, you don't put your brand on the line. Don't do this for this money. You got to think in a long scale. But he was like, there's a lot of money, but the record was trash.
The artist was mad at me too.
The artist was mad. The artist didn't like that dissent. But again, there's nobody in the room sometimes to tell folks, yo, that ain't it. Nobody don't want to do that anymore. Like, remember, this is all of a herd mentality that we're dealing with. So yeah. So Joe Budden and them telling them, saying, hey, this ain't it. This is weak. No. You can't do that. This is the age of influencer marketing. Like, so there's no way that we can even afford another large voice. Because, listen, he's been ranked as the #1 urban podcaster. We cannot act like there's no influence there. So if this man comes up and he gives an argument to say that this album is trash, that this album isn't showing growth, this album is not mature, it doesn't, it's just too young, it's him trying to be too young when he's not showing his age, we want to grow with him as an artist, he's not going for that. You're like, nah, you messing up my play right now, bro.
Yeah, man, but that's the problem, man. Hip hop has turned into a play. Like, we need that. We need the talk. We need the critical. That's what makes you run back and be like, yo, let me tighten up my game. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need more people to be like, nah, that ain't it. Put out something better. But now it's a free for all. You can put out whatever you want, and look where we at. Nah, man, this shit pisses me off, man.
Tell her why you mad, son. Tell her why you mad.
Because we're supposed to be, culture-wise, we're supposed to be a lot further than we are,
Huh?
Like, look at the state of music. This ain't it. This is all we got? Bunch of ratchet music right now? Yo, thank God, Meek Mill and Rose coming out with some hard, mature rapping, bars, clean video, looking good, shot right. You know what I'm saying? thank God they gonna.
We talking about that Shaq and Kobe. If you ain't already heard it, go check it out.
Come on, man. Like for our generation, we like. I don't believe in this whole once you reach a certain age, that's it for hip hop. That's it for you. I don't have no new music to listen to. That's ridiculous. Once you hit past 40, well, that's it. You can't listen to hip hop anymore, or artists can't put out new music anymore. So what am I supposed to listen to? I'm supposed to listen to 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds. That's where I'm supposed to get my influence and my information and my day-to-day vibe from. Are you kidding me? Like, all that is cool and all, but that ain't for me. Leave that for them. The Drake, the Coles, the Jay-Z's, the Rosés. Like, we put out good music for us. That's hot for us. And when the young generation starts to grow, they can look at that and see that they still have a future in this game. That they can grow also. As they get older and older, their content will change and their fans could grow with them as older and usher in the next sound. You should not be 40 years old, 50 years old, and be trying to rhyme along with the 14-year-olds. That's silly.
Tell them why you mad, son. Tell them why you mad.
And then they wonder why we can't grow as a culture.
It's real talk. Say it again, because we keep trying to keep not acting our fucking age.
Yeah, exactly. You want to have a second childhood. This ain't it, man. This ain't it. Let the youngins do their music. Support them. Let them do them, give them some game. But at the same time, we got to lead. We got to be making music on our level so that they can grow to that. We need to have standards again. And without that, our future isn't going anywhere.
God, it's real, bro. See, look, he just said the whole joint. That's a mic drop right there. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got nothing behind that. I could just say, listen, at the end of the day, like, I agree with you. Like, I feel like it has to grow, bro, and it's not doing that. It's not growing, and it's not growing. It's like we're trying to retrofit everything. Like, we just can't do it like that, man. Like, and he is the top of the food chain, bro.
Yeah.
And I really feel like, strategically, I think that he's far more advanced than he lets on. Right. So I just feel like, there has to be a strategy as to why he's releasing what he's releasing. And I'm sure it's not just for the sake of a trend, but, this is a guy who has really a $1 billion deal, right? In terms of his music is concerned.
Right.
I think that he's trying to. I think that he kind of always gives himself room to do better, and I think we were talking about that prior to the situation. I don't think that, like, I think that these guys are doing this stuff purposely. That they're tempering themselves so that they kind of give themselves room to do better on the next project. Like, if you give it all, then it gets too hard to trump on the next project. And I think that may be strategic to kind of create a longevity, if that makes sense.
So you're saying they purposely dumb themselves down to kind of extend their staying power.
Yeah. I think that if you can get to a point where you can't exceed your music. I think that's what you see happening with Lil Wayne. I think you have a situation where it's like, he's giving you his best music, and I think that you're not going to be able to exceed that. And I think sometimes, it creates a situation where there's nowhere else for you to go but down, right? You may see the same situation maybe from a Nicki Minaj, where they folks would plateau, and like they've done their best music, and this is what it is. This is what you're going to get right now. Peak too soon, Whereas some people kind of like to drip feed themselves. I think you'll always be able to, like even on a Nas situation, I think you'll be able to see him give you better music. I think that what you see is like he's putting out decent music, but he always gives himself room to do better. Like there's room to do better, like, you know, and it's not too far out of reach. So I think what happens is the fans are like, okay, maybe it'll be better on this next one. And that's not it. Okay, maybe it'll be better on the next one. And we just keep going back in hopes that we're going to get that. And, you know, you may get it, you may not.
Yeah, but how does an artist, like, how does that look on a day-to-day level? Does an artist say, you know what, I'm not going to give them this record? You know, like, I'm unsure if an artist actually sits down and says that to themselves. I think they get in the room, they record, they're influenced by whatever's around them. They record, they make the records, they pick the music that's going to be their album, and that's that.
So let's say, for example, like you got a person like a Nas. Let's use him as the example, right? I know we're talking about Drake, but let's use Nas as an example. When's the last time you heard Nas on a record that had a popular singing female or R&B or anything like that on the hook?
You mean like almost like the Lauryn Hill record?
Yeah.
I don't call.
Right. He makes a conscious effort not to do that.
You think so?
He's made it very clear. It's like, that's the hit. You put an R&B bitch on the hook. He said that. You know, he doesn't do it. Right. So what happens in his situation is like this. It's like, this is a person that has a formula to make a hit record like that, but refuses to do so. Right. And kind of keeps it in the back pocket. So like, let's say like let's say, for example, if he's on his last leg, he can always revert to that because for him it's easy to do. Right. So they don't do that. And what happens is some of the fans may be longing for it, but they'll never get it. You're not going to get a Lauryn Hill collaboration like that, you know? Well,
but that's not really what his hardcore fan wants from him, though.
I don't know if I beg to differ, because you have to look at his biggest album. His biggest album has those sort of collabs. Right?
But listen, though, just because certain records hit for you, it doesn't necessarily mean as an artist that that's what you prefer to do. Even Cardi B doesn't really care for those records that be hitting. She likes to track ratchet records. She said it. She wants to make the street records. So there's a lot of records that people enjoy, like the artist, this is my zone. When I could get on the mixtapes, that's why you have the mixtapes. It allows the artist to do what they want to do. But when it's time for the album, it's like, okay, I got to make something for the masses. You know, I got to speak with the A&R guy. They got to clear the status. So it's a whole nother ballgame, you know. And Nas, I think, those type of records is not the records he truly is his core. I think he likes to rap. I think he likes to get in there.
But I'm not saying that. I think he always likes to rap, but I think there's a better formula to it, and I think he's aware of that formula. He's been doing it long enough to know what that feels and sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like they know when it's like, okay, this is not this. They know when it's not what it should be. You know, but they're gonna go along with it because this is weird.
Like if Nas says, you know what, all I gotta do is get a dope beat, rap, get Chris Brown on the hook, it's gone. Yeah, that sounds easy.
It is, but they're not going to do that because it's, again, I think they use that. That's the last hurrah. I think folks do not. I think folks tend to want to do something different because they said they did that already, right? So they said, all right, I did that already. I don't want to do that again, even though that is the true formula for their success. And then they keep kind of experimenting, and we're over here saying, damn, you're doing all this experimentation, but you already know it worked, bro. Why you just don't do it work?
Because I don't think that's what, for example, someone like Nas, he's not looking for that. I think he wants to someone like Nas, I don't think he's looking for the quote unquote hit, the huge record.
I feel that.
I think he just, I want to make sure I have some dope content and lyrics and be able to rap and be able to push the forward in that area. Like he's more closer to the original hip hop. You know, I think that's where he is.
So when I say a hit,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I need to redefine when I say a hit. Like, you know, because to me, you know, New York State of Mind is a hit. You know, to me, Made You Look is a hit, right? On different levels, not radio I Rule the World type hit or Stream Dreams type hit with R. Kelly. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that those records that slice cut through time that will always be here. Represent, you know, Give You Power, you know, Affirmative Action. You know what I'm saying? Like when we talk about these records, it's like in that last 6 record run, like, do you have any of those? You don't really have that in that last 6 album line. That you might have maybe EPMD, you know, but you know, with the Eminem verse that went crazy, so that's crazy. And so, but you know, like, do you have like maybe there's a, you know, maybe Thun or maybe if you know, but you don't really have those like that are like really cutting through like that. So that's really my situation when I look at that. I'm looking at it in that type of fashion. But and when I go back to Drake's situation again, it's like, you know, I want some dope records from him, man. I want him to have his Illmatic. I want him to have his Get Rich or Die Trying. I want him to have his Aquemini. And I don't think he has that. I think he has good albums, but I don't think he has that joint where I'm like, okay, I have to give Drake his total props. Like, you know, I think that he has great songs, you know,
all over the place.
I just need them to be on one cohesive project that, you know, not only brings his lyricism, his wit, his level of emotional intelligence, but also combine that with the production that seems to cut through. I think the production right now, these guys have been settling for mediocre production for a while and just been able to influence, market the shit out of it. That's what I think really has been able to work and make and they've been able to sell mediocre shit for a while through influence of marketing.
Pay for the production, man. Like, you know, there's always this thing about this in-house. Your in-house may not be providing the heat that you're gonna need. That's gonna take you to the next level. There, you know, and we spoke briefly about this in another podcast, where there's certain labels that have their whole in-house team, and you know they kind of hog the production, but production ain't tight, you know. But because you got to go through them to get the album out, because this team is linked to the label and the label execs, and they get, you know, behind the scenes pay, and they have their own agendas, you know. That's another reason why the music don't come out the way it need to come out, because they got their crew, you know, doing the production, and their crew is signed to them. And it's not about how hot the music is. It's more about what can you give me that we could keep this money internally.
And then another thing too that we didn't really address on that, because that's one faction of it. The other faction of it, and I want to put this out to the producers, you guys are making it too hard to get your records permission for use. You guys are coming with ridiculous demands. Too many people working on the tracks. You guys have not handled your business prior to make sure everybody agrees to the terms of whoever gets the record placed. And what happens is you guys are making it too difficult for these records to get used in terms of pay, in terms of contracting, in terms of getting it cleared. Like, that's probably the larger reason why a lot of you guys' production isn't really making it to where it needs to make it, because people don't want to go through the internal headache of getting everybody to be on the same page and cutting up a song with 50 million producers or 50 million writers for one song. Like, you guys got to get that under control, or else you guys are going to basically X yourselves out.
Right. So the artist just says, you know what, I'll just get a beat for my man.
Yeah.
And then it don't got to sound no way. I just live off my star power.
Right.
And you know, I'm big enough to spit some dope bars, and that's it.
Because you guys make, you know, ridiculous demands. Like, you know, like, this guy wants this guy wants that. Like all of that is supposed to be clarified way before it starts getting run to artists, to being pitched to artists. And it's too late when you got the song placed and you going back now trying to get everybody to agree on the splits and all that shit, and everybody can't agree on it. Like come on, man. Like you guys got to do better than that. But that's why you turn off a lot of rappers. A lot of rappers are turned off by the internal situation with that. But before we circle back, before we kind of get out of here, so I guess I want to ask the quintessential question for the episode is the album trash?
I think
is Joe Budden right?
I think everybody has their preferences.
That was real political, but go ahead. I will let you ride. I will let you ride.
I'm gonna say that album. I'm gonna say that album's not
okay. And I can concur to that.
I'm not gonna get on a platform, and I don't think that we should jump in or be in the business of tearing down people in our culture. You know,
real talk.
I think that doing that is just not only unprofessional, but it just says something about, you know, who you are and your where you stand in this culture. You know, I say every artist that's dropping something has something to offer. I just think that there needs to be more variety, and I think there's just going to be certain albums and certain songs that's just not for me for a variety of reasons. You know, whether it's not meeting my expectations musically, you know, production wise, MC wise, lyrically, tone or flow, delivery, or just the overall content, or, you know, maybe I'm just not feeling the individual, you know, whatever it is, you know, maybe it doesn't resonate with me because of age, you know, and the content is just not of my age or represent where I'm from or what I'm about currently, you know, maybe if I was 15 years old, maybe it will resonate with me, you know, depending on where I'm at, you know, so there's something for everybody. And I just think there needs to be more music for mature audience, only because the young artists are eventually going to grow into that. And if we don't have enough mature music to sustain hip hop, what direction does the young artist have to go? Where are they going to go? What is their future?
All right. So basically, we're not lining out the blueprint for you to grow as an artist in hip hop. And if we don't have that, then it just pretty much is going to set the culture back. And honestly, if people really think about it, we're talking about 50 years of hip hop, right? So on average, what we're talking about, the average listener would be 25 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Gotta give them some jewels. Gotta give them a couple of things that they could take with them. You know, it can't always 100% just be about ratchetness or this type of shooting and killing. It can't always be just that and only that. There has to be growth in some area. There got to be something you should strive for. You know, a rapper who's 15 years old shouldn't have to think that their career is going to be over once they hit 30. It's not cool.
Not cool. Is it real?
Not cool. They should be able to see 40, 50-year-old MCs that's doing their thing on another level and be like, damn, man, when I get to that age, like, I want to still be able to enjoy. I want to still be able to have something to offer. I shouldn't be tossed out at 30 because of my age and have nothing to offer the culture.
It's crazy. It's the Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast, folks. Of course, these episodes are brought to you by the famous books that we have out, right? The Songwriter's Guide to Song Registration, the Musician's Guide to Music Copyrights, the Musician's Guide to Music Publishing, and the Ultimate Guide to Forming Your Own Music LLC. If you haven't already got those books, please make sure you pick them up. It helps to keep the lights on. But at the same time, you know, before we get out of here, a few things happened this week. Sexy Red Tape leak. not sure if people are familiar with that, but there was a little bit of a controversy because some people were saying that her sex tape leak was on brand, and some people are saying that it's intentional. Any thoughts on it?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say about it. We're just waiting for that wave to be over, right?
I'm not gonna say that. I'm just looking for more other kinds of music, you know, because there's always that wave of music has always been around from here or there.
Yeah.
So I'm not like mad at that, and I would always want her to get her bag, provide opportunities and businesses and things for her team and you know, her crew, you know, because at the end of the day, this game has allowed folks to get out of their neighborhoods and, you know, become millionaires. Because, you know, so I would never say, you know, don't get your bag. But there's a responsibility that comes along with this too, that has to be talked about. And there needs to be a variety of different kinds of music to offset that. So if you don't want to listen to that, you have equally uplifting music, music that gives you information, music that you can do other things to, that should be available and be just as popular and accepted. So
I agree with that. And, you know, today you are on a roll, man. Like, you have been absolutely politically correct 100% of the day. So I want to give you kudos for that. Yeah. You have evolved, and you do not want to be in this situation trashing people, which would get so many likes and so many clicks. But, you know, I'm trying to refrain from doing that as well. Like, hey, we didn't really want our platform to be like that anyway. We really wanted to be constructive criticism, and I really hope that artists are paying attention. Like, pay attention to what's going on. Pay attention that, listen, everybody's going to have an opinion on your music. Try to put out the best music that you can put out possible.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of helps to have some influence on marketing on it. But again, if you can do the best music that you can, it goes a long way. Any kind of crazy situation where you become bulletproof, to the opinions of others, right? Because people will listen to it and be like, "Oh, that boy tripping," because I listened to that album and it was fire. And you'll be able to identify a hater a mile away.
Yeah, nobody can say nothing about an Illmatic album. Nobody can say nothing about a Mobb Deep Infamous album. You know, there's plenty of albums that you can't really speak bad on. You know, it is what it is. And that's it.
Carter 4, Get Rich Die Trying,
Blueprint,
Doggy Style, Chronic.
I mean, you could go on. Even AT Aliens. I mean, there's this other.
Killer Michael.
Oh, yeah. Hey,
come on, folks. Like, like there's a few joints out there that people won't be able to say, give you too much, critique on that and say, hey, this is a whack album.
So if you want good music, man, you want a good review, you don't want to be subjected to, oh, your joint is whack, then spend the time, spend the money if you need to, the resources, and make better music.
Or they could just hire platinum producers with A&R experience, like, Arkatech. Save yourself the drama. Save yourself the drama, and you make sure that we'll tell you. We'll say if it's trash.
We've done it. We just done it in front of big artists, and then
we've been in the room.
I said not to say that, buddy. We've done it.
Yeah, man, that was. I went to that soundtrack, and I listened to that song recently, and I said, man, is this Drake shit? Like, yes. It's trash.
It didn't go anywhere.
Didn't go anywhere, and it hurt them.
It hurt them. You know,
It hurt them because they had to get that credibility back. It hurt them. And honestly, I don't even know if they really ever got that credibility back.
no, it didn't. It didn't. Make better music. Challenge yourself and push yourself every time.
I'm not gonna go against that. Make better music, like Mike D said. This Arkatech Beatz Music Business Podcast, folks. Make sure you're following us at www.arkatechbeats.com, at all things at Arkatech Beatz. And until next time, I want everybody to be out there, be safe.
Peace.
Peace out, everybody.
Arkatech